Hey Toefl scholars, let's have a look at this question. The question is to paraphrase the sentence. So let's first analyze the sentence. This is the original sentence. Only the last of these was suited all to the continuous operating of machines, and all the water power abounded in Lancashire and Scotland, and ran grain mills as well as textile mills. It had one great disadvantage. Streams flowed where nature intended them to, and water-driven factories had to be located on their banks, whether or not the location was desirable for other reasons. Whoa, that's one long sentence. This type of sentence is called a compound complex sentence. A compound complex sentence has at least two independent clauses and at least one dependent clause. Let's first find two independent clauses. Independent clauses are joined by coordinating conjunctions like and, but, so. So we have two independent clauses in this sentence. The first independent clause is this. Only the last of these was suited at all to the continuous operating of machines. And the second independent clause begins with although all the way down to the rest. So let's first look at the first independent clause. Whenever you see a pronoun, you got to find its antecedent. So what is the antecedent of these? To find the antecedent, you need to read the preceding sentence. The preceding sentence talks about three sources of power: muscle power, wind power, and water power. Only the last of these refers to water power. Moving on to the second independent clause. The clause is made of several dependent clauses and one main clause. Although is a subordinating conjunction, so the clause after although is a dependent clause. The main clause is it had one great disadvantage. It, of course, means water power. So it says water power had one great disadvantage. What is the disadvantage? Stuff that follows the colon indicates the disadvantage. In case you didn't know, colon signifies an explanation of a concept that is mentioned before. In our case, the clauses that follow the colon explains what the disadvantage is. Streams flowed where nature intended them to, and water-driven factories had to be located on their banks, whether or not the location was desirable for other reasons. The antecedent of them and there is streams. The major disadvantage of water power is that factories had to be built around water source, regardless of the fact that whether the location was desired or not. Now that we analyzed the original sentence, let's consider the options. A is incorrect since it says water was abundant only in Lancashire and Scotland, but the original sentence does not say such a thing. Choice B is incomplete and incorrect. The original sentence does say some advantage of water power. That is, water power did enable the continuous operation, but B does not say this. It also misrepresents the disadvantage of water power. The original sentence states that the disadvantage of water power was that factories had to be built around water sources, whether or not the location was desirable for other reasons, that is, independent of desirability of the locations. But B says the location was always undesirable, which is not a correct representation of the original sentence. C is not correct because it says grain and textile mills, as well as other factories, tended to be located only in Lancashire and Scotland, which is not true, since the original sentence says factories had to be located on the banks of the river. D says running water was the only source of power that was suitable for the continuous operation of machines. But to make use of it, factories had to be located where the water was, regardless of whether such locations made sense otherwise. This is precisely what the original sentence says. Thank you for watching. If you have any questions relating to studying for TOEFL, please leave them here or on the Facebook group site, TOEFL Scholars. It will be awesome if you subscribe to this channel and show your support with thumbs up. This is Dr. Nani Burns.